Right now, inside your kitchen cabinet, tucked behind the cleaning supplies or sitting in a forgotten drawer, is a clear liquid that costs less than a cup of coffee. This substance has the molecular power to dissolve the carbon heart disease killing your engine in under 10 minutes. You've been told for decades that once an engine starts to lose compression, once it begins to shudder at stoplights or drink oil like water, the end is near. You've been told that your only options are a $3,000 teardown or a signature on a new car loan. This is a lie. It is a carefully maintained multi-billion-dollar deception designed to keep you trapped in a cycle of planned obsolescence. The truth is that your engine isn't dying because it's old. It's dying because it's choking. And the cure is currently sitting next to your dish soap. The global automotive repair market is a behemoth, projected to hit $800 billion by the end of this decade. This is a massive systematic wealth transfer built entirely on the premise that the average driver is too intimidated by the complexity of modern machinery to realize how simple the solutions actually are. Think about the last time you took your car in for a stumble or a rough idle. The service advisor likely spoke to you in a language of fear. They used terms like catastrophic failure, internal sludge, and worn piston rings. They charged you $100 just to plug in a scanner and another $500 for a professional induction service. What they didn't tell you is that they are using the exact same chemical principles found in that $2 bottle in your kitchen. They want you to believe that internal combustion is a mystery. It isn't. It's just chemistry. And the industry has a vested interest in making sure you never understand the solvent properties of what you already own. Before the era of sleek plastic bottles and celebrity-endorsed fuel additives, there was a generation of men who understood the soul of the machine. Go back to the 1940s. Picture a P-51 Mustang pilot in the heat of the Pacific Theater. These engines were pushed to the absolute breaking point, running on high lead fuel that would gum up a modern engine in hours. When those engines began to lose power, the mechanics didn't wait for a shipment of branded cleaners from a corporate headquarters. They used high-purity solvents like acetone and isopropyl alcohol. They knew that these liquids were the molecular scissors of the engineering world. Even earlier in the 1920s, bush pilots in the frozen Canadian wilderness used these exact household liquids to keep their oil from turning into wax and to keep their valves from sticking in sub-zero temperatures. They didn't have a choice. It was a matter of survival. Somewhere along the way, that survival knowledge was rebranded, bottled, and marked up 5,000%. To understand why this kitchen liquid works, you have to understand what is actually happening inside your engine. Every time you turn the key, a series of controlled explosions occurs. But these explosions are never perfect. They leave behind a microscopic residue, a sticky, tar-like substance known as carbon. Over 50,000 miles, this carbon bakes onto your intake valves like ceramic. It clogs the tiny grooves in your piston rings, preventing them from sealing against the cylinder walls. This is why your engine loses power. This is why your fuel economy plinks. These carbon deposits aren't just dirt. They are complex polymer chains. Standard gasoline is a weak solvent. It can't break those chains. But the liquid in your kitchen is a polar solvent. At a molecular level, it vibrates at a frequency that allows it to wedge itself between the carbons, atoms, and the metal surface of your engine. It doesn't just wash the carbon away. It dissolves the chemical bond holding the heart disease to the metal. It's a process called chemical solvation, and it's the secret the additive industry would pay millions to keep off your screen. Think about the sheer audacity of the pricing. A dealership induction service often ranges from $400 to $600. They hook a pressurized can to your vacuum line and let the engine sip a chemical cocktail for 20 minutes. If you look at the safety data sheet for those professional-grade chemicals, you will see the primary ingredients: acetone, toluene, and various alcohols. These are the exact components of high-quality nail polish remover or hardware store degreasers. You're paying a $500 premium for a fancy nozzle and a technician in a branded shirt. Meanwhile, the raw material, the actual magic in the bottle, costs the dealership less than $5. When you realize that you can achieve the same steam cleaning effect for the price of a candy bar, the US versus them dynamic becomes crystal clear. They aren't selling you a service, they are selling you back your own ignorance. Now, you must understand that this is not about pouring a bottle of mystery liquid into your gas tank and hoping for the best. Precision is the difference between a rejuvenated engine and a ruined one. The method used by those in the know, the forbidden method, involves the vacuum system. Every internal combustion engine has a vacuum line, usually connected to the brake booster or the PCV valve. This is the IV drip of your car. By using a small length of clear tubing, a seasoned DIYer can allow the engine to slowly inhale the solvent directly into the intake manifold while the engine is running at a high idle. As the liquid hits the hot valves, it doesn't just stay a liquid, it atomizes. It turns into a high-pressure solvent cloud that scours the carbon off the valves and the piston tops in real time. You will see it working. A thick, gray-white cloud of atomized carbon will billow from your exhaust. This isn't your engine braking. It's the smoke of the dead leaving the machine. In less than 10 minutes, the internal surfaces are returned to a state they haven't seen since the factory floor. Consider the story of a man named Miller, a long-haul courier in rural Ohio. Miller drove a 2005 sedan that most mechanics would have been sent to the scrap heap years ago. It had 340,000 miles on the clock, a permanent check engine light, and a shimmy that made the dashboard rattle. Miller didn't have the money for a new car, and he certainly didn't have the money for a dealer decarboning service. He took a bottle of 100% pure acetone, the kind you find in the beauty section for $2, and used the vacuum sip method he'd learned from an old tractor mechanic. Within 5 minutes, the shimmy vanished. Within 10 minutes, the idle smoothed out so much he thought the car had stalled. He drove that car for another 100,000 miles. There are thousands of stories like Miller's, buried in old internet forums and whispered in the back of independent machine shops. These are the anomalies the manufacturers don't want to track, because an engine that lasts 500,000 miles is a nightmare for their quarterly earnings reports. The durability of the internal combustion engine is actually staggering. If you keep the internal surfaces clean and the lubrication points clear, a modern engine can theoretically last for decades. The death of an engine is almost always a slow suicide caused by the accumulation of waste products that we have been told are unavoidable. It's like a person who never brushes their teeth being told that tooth loss is just a natural part of turning 30. It's only natural if you don't know how to clean them. This kitchen liquid is the toothbrush for your pistons. It's a tool for self-reliance in an age where we are being pushed toward subscription-based transportation and disposable vehicles. They want you to believe your car has an expiration date. They want you to believe that once that warranty is up, you're on borrowed time. But you have to be careful. The system doesn't like people who know how to fix things themselves. We live in a world where right to repair is a literal legal battleground. Manufacturers are increasingly bricking vehicles with software locks or using specialized bolts that require proprietary tools. Why? Because the machine itself is too reliable. They have to engineer the failure points. And the easiest failure point to exploit is your own fear of the forbidden. They will tell you that using a household solvent will melt your seals or destroy your sensors. This is a half-truth designed to scare you. While you shouldn't soak your entire engine in a vat of solvent, the controlled, atomized delivery of these chemicals has been a standard practice in the high-performance racing and aviation world for a century. The seals in your engine are designed to withstand the caustic byproducts of burning petroleum. A 10-minute exposure to a cleaning solvent isn't going to melt them. It's a ghost story told by people who want to sell you a $600 version of the same thing. This knowledge is fragile. Every year, more DIY content is flagged, suppressed, or buried by algorithms that prioritize corporate-friendly maintenance tips over genuine, cost-saving engineering hacks. They want the forbidden knowledge to stay forbidden. They want you to feel a sense of expert dependency, where you feel unqualified to even open your own hood. But remember, the person at the dealership who is qualified to work on your car is often a 20-year-old with 3 weeks of training who is simply following a digital checklist provided by a corporation. You have more skin in the game than they do. You have the ability to learn the chemistry, understand the physics, and take control of your own property. Your engine is gasping for air. It is struggling under the weight of a decade of carbon buildup. You can feel it in the way it hesitates when you merge onto the highway. You can hear it in the ping of the valves when you're under load. You can see it in the plummeting numbers on your fuel gauge. You have the cure in your kitchen right now. It is a simple, elegant solution to a problem that the world's largest industries have spent billions trying to complicate. But here is the most important part. Information like this only has power if it's shared. The planned obsolescence lobby thrives on isolation. They want every car owner to feel like they are alone, facing a unique and expensive problem that only a certified professional can solve. When we share these methods, when we talk about the chemistry of acetone or the history of aviation mechanics, we are engaging in a small act of rebellion. We are reclaiming the forbidden and making it common. I'm asking you to do something today. Don't just watch this and move on to the next distraction. Internalize this. Look at your car not as a black box of mystery, but as a masterpiece of engineering that you have the right to maintain. Share this with someone who is struggling with a car that's dying. Share it with the student who can't afford a mechanic. Share it with the retiree who needs their vehicle to last another 10 years. We are being pushed into a future where we own nothing and rent our lives from corporations. Every time you fix something yourself for $2 instead of $600, you're pushing back against that tide. The algorithm is already moving to bury this. If you want to stay awake to these truths, if you want to keep receiving the knowledge they try to erase, you need to engage. Subscribe to this flow of information before the gatekeepers decide it's too dangerous for the public to know. Like this, comment with your own old school mechanic stories, and most importantly, send this to one person who needs to hear it. We are the last generation that will have the chance to truly own and understand our machines. Don't let that knowledge die with the heart disease of a carbon-clogged engine. Take the $2 liquid from your kitchen, walk out to your driveway, and give your machine its life back.